Kuf Dalet Amud Beis, right after the Mishnah. It says, so it's talking about the minimum of writing on Shabbos and what he writes with. It says, if he writes with diyai, which we translate as diusa, it's ink. Sam, if he uses sam, that was in the Mishnah. The Gemara translates sam as sama. Sama, I saw they translated as arsenic, which makes sense why it's called sama. It's some sort of poison. Sikra, that was the next thing in the second line of the Mishnah. If he writes sikra, it was like a red sort of ink. Amar Rabbi bar Bachana, Sakarta Shema. It's called Sakarta. Now, Sakarta I saw is a red lead. Lead is in the metal. Kumas is kuma. That apparently is some sort of sap. Kankantim. What is kankantim? That was in the Mishnah. Amar Rabbi bar Bachana Amar Shmuel Charsa de Ushbachi, which they translated as a copper sulfate. Could be used to, I think they said it could be used to polish shoes or something. Okay. B'chol davar shu oiser reishim, anything that that makes a mark. Lasuye mai. What is that coming to include? Lasuye hadatanya. It's coming to include what it was taught. Rab Chananya Kasvu, the Tanya Rab Chananya, what Rab Chananya taught. This is in Hilchas Gittin. Kasvu b'meitzarya. It was written with meitzarya, is either rainwater or it's a dye that comes out of a fruit. Afza is gall juice. I don't understand what galls are, but apparently there's some sort of casing for an insect that grows on the tree. It was used as ink. You would, I guess, crush that nut shell, I should say, and it looks like a nut. And kosher, that's kosher. For a get, as we're comparing here gittin till Shabbos, if you could use it for a get, then that's considered writing on Shabbos. Tani Rab Chia kasu ba'abak, if you write it in dust, b'shachar, so something black. It's probably like charcoal or something. Ubeshichor, or if you go back, shichor is that kankantim that we said before, that copper sulfate. That's kosher. Moshe, you ever tried to make your own ink? At the beginning. Doesn't come out so well. When my grandparents got married, so my grandmother would make her own bread. So my grandfather said, there's professionals. You could go to the bakery. Anyway. Okay. So, Hamisaret al-Basarai, if someone makes a scratch on his flesh, on his skin, and he writes, so we said that he's chayev for that. Or Rabbi Lezer says he's chayev. A kaisev al-Basarai is chayev. Hamisaret al-Basarai, Rabbi Lezer says chayev chatas chamse is pater. We have a very interesting Gemara here, and I could have skipped it. Not skipped it. I could have missed that this is one of the Chasronos Hashas, because the two Gemaras that I have in my house don't have it, but the Steinsaltz has it. So let me read it to you, and then I'll throw in the Steinsaltz piece afterwards. So Tanya was taught in a Brisa, Amalem Rabbi Elazar l'Chachamim, Rabbi Elazar tells Chachamim, Olei ben Satata, hitik shafim mitzrayim b'sri tishal b'sarei. But this fellow Ben Satata took witchcraft out of Egypt by scratching it into his skin. Amrullah, they said Shaita, he was a fool. Ben Mevin Raim and Shaitim, you can't bring proof from fools. Okay. There's a lot of kashas on that Gemara. What's the difference if he's a fool or if he's smart? People don't do that. But whatever the case is, let me just read to you the Steinsaltz. He adds in the pre-censored version, and it's a little bit longer. Okay, the Gemara now says, this is missing from your text, unless the art scroll put it in. I don't have the art scroll. Ben Sitada. Why did they call him Ben Sitada? Ben Panderahu. He's the son of Pandera. What is Pandera? Pandoris. Pandera comes from the Greek name Pandoris. Nothing to do with the experiment. Rav Chisda says, Rama Rav Chisda, Bal Sitada. His mother's husband, yeah, because we're talking about the Ben, right? Who acted as his father, his name was Sitada. Boyel Pandera. He had relations with his mother and she was Pandera. The Gemara says, 1 second. Wasn't Ben Sitada, wasn't the Ben Sitada's the mother, the husband of the mother, Papas ben Yehuda? Bal Papas ben Yehuda. The husband was Papas ben Yehuda. Ela imay Sitada. Okay, so the mother's name was Sitada, and he was named Ben Sitada after the mother. The Gemara says his mother was Sitada. Imay Miriam Magdala. His mother was Miriam. It's getting very suspicious now. Magdala, who braided women's hair. Magdala Sharnashia Hava. She was a Miriam who braided. Gemara says Ela Kadami Pumpadisa Sitas da Mibaila. It's not a contradiction. Stada was a nickname. As they say in Pumpadisa, this one strayed from her husband. Sitas da Mibaila. Well, it sounds like we can point to someone in history and say maybe we know who this is. However, Taisvus over here says, oh, I saw it quoted in a Taisvus from somewhere else, the Rishonim, and they say, you have to hear this. It says, Omer Rabbeinu Tam. This is a quote from Taisvus Arash in Brachas. Omer Rabbeinu Tam, Kol ben Sitara Hanoitri. Anyone thinks that this is the Christian, he's making a mistake, because it says Papas ben Yehuda was the father. And Papas ben Yehuda was in days of Rabbi Akiva. And Yeshu was in days of Rabbi Shua ben Prachia. And as it says that he pushed him away with 2 hands. And Rabbi Shua ben Prachia was earlier than Rabbi Akiva. Okay. Anyway, just to add to the confusion. Okay, let's take this further. Kosav Eisacha Samach L'Ksav. This is if you add a letter to letters that are already there. So Mantana, who's the one that says that it says over here that you're pater if you add 1 letter, because the minimal amount of writing is 2 letters. So the Gemara doesn't say who's the Tana. All it says is Amar Rava bar Rav Huna. Usually Rabba bar Rav Huna. Deloik Rebbe Lezer. We don't know who it is, but we know it's not Rebbe Lezer. The Rebbe Lezer, Amar Achas Halar Chayiv. Rebbe Lezer holds that if you add to one that's already there by the weaving, if you add one, if there's already woven cloth and you add 1 more, so because that cloth, that will hold, because it's already started, you add 1, so that will stay. So here also, it could be you completed a word, or you added a letter to a letter that's already there. Now it's considered 2 letters. Okay. So our Mishnah can't be Rabbi Eliezer because he would say that Yechayev, and our Mishnah says Pater. Ksav al gabi ksav. Let's say you use a stencil. Very good, Dr. Stein. Stencils. Montana. Who's the author that says that a stencil is Pater? Gemara says, "I'm Rav Chitzad like Rabbi Yehuda." It can't be Rabbi Yehuda. The Tanya, because we have a brisa. It's a shame if someone has to write the name of Hashem. So he's getting ready because he's writing in the Torah. He's supposed to be writing Hashem's name, Vayomer Hashem, right? And V'neskaven lichtav Yehuda, but his intention is to write Yehuda instead of Hashem. The place is supposed to have Hashem's name. He's ready to make a mistake and write Yehuda. V'tah, but he makes a mistake about making his mistake. By Dallas, and he ends up writing it correctly. So he has good luck. He ended up writing it correctly, even though he was intending not to. So it says, but he didn't write it with the right intention. You have to have the intention that you're writing Hashem's name. So it says, Maver of Kulmas and Makadsha. You just take the quill and go over it again, because the letters are all perfect. You just go it over again and sanctify it. To Rabbi Yehuda. You see, Rabbi Yehuda holds you could write Ksav al gabi Ksav. You can write over other letters. The Chum say this is not perfect. This is not the way to do it. Well, whatever we see is, according to Rabbi Yehuda, writing over other letters is considered writing. So therefore, on Shabbos, you should be chayiv as well. So our Mishnah can't be Rabbi Yehuda. Tana was taught in a brisa. He wrote a letter, but that one letter was the end of the Sefer Torah. On Shabbos, they took out the Sefer Torah. They forgot to finish by the Achnasa Sefer Torah. They forgot to finish the last piece. So he writes the last letter. It's only one letter. It's not two letters. So, or he does the last stitch. Over there is going to be chayiv. That's what the brisa teaches. Montana, who is the author that says chayiv? Amar Rabba bar Rav Huna. Here they corrected on the side. It's Rabba bar Rav Huna. Before they just left it. Okay, Rabba bar Rav Huna says Rabbi Eliezer. This is the opinion of Rabbi Eliezer. We heard about Rabbi Eliezer. He holds that if you add one stitch, one thread to the weaving, you chayiv. Damar achas alarg is chayiv. We're going to have Rabbi Eliezer Mishnah later today. So it must be the opinion of Rabbi Eliezer. He holds that if you add one, that one is like two. Ravashi says, "Afil temer Rabbanan." You could even say that it's the Rabbanan. Even the Rabbanan that say that one stitch is not considered two. But over here, it's different. Here, that one letter completed the whole Sefer Torah. Here at Mamish is a chashuv a letter. This letter did more than just one letter. This is finished the Sefer Torah, made it kasher. Lahashlam shiny. Even when it's completing the Sefer Torah, this is different. Yeah, really, that last letter. Who gets the last letter by the Achnasa Sefer Torah? That's the real writing, the last one. Well, the other ones is considered magia. Considered, as we'll see soon about magia. But the one letter there is like is a real chashuv writing. Amar Rabami. Kasav Isachas B'Tveria, Achas B'Tzipori. One letter he writes in Tveria, and another letter he writes in Tzipori, two different cities. He's chayiv, because Ksiva hi Elishim Mechusa Kreva. He wrote. Only thing is, you have to bring them together. Remember, we said you have to have two pieces of paper if they're both at the edge. So you just bring them together. It's considered two letters. It was different if you wrote on a scroll, one at the beginning, one at the end. Where it says, Vatanan, Kosav al Shnei Kaisle Abayas, Val Shnei Dafi Pinkas, Veinen Negen Zem Ze Pater. What are you saying? He's chayiv. One is in Tiveria, one's in Tzipori, and you're going to be chayiv. If you write on two walls of the same house, you're pater, because it's not close enough. only if the walls are the corner walls, and that it's connected. Or if you write on two parts of a ledger, but it's not close together, so you're pater. And here, once in Sipari, the Gemara answers, the kreva. Over there, you have to do an action and then get it together. You have to take the wall off to move the wall over to the other wall. Or you have to cut the middle parchment out to bring it together. Here you don't have any action to, you just have to carry it over. They're both written at the edge of the paper. Happen to be, it's not next to each other because the papers aren't next to each other. But if you bring the papers next to each other, it's no problem. Okay, Tana. It's taught in a brisa, Higia Isachas Chayev. Even if he amends one letter, he's Chayev. It's a big chiddush. He always said you have to write two letters. Hashta, the Gemara says, Kasav Isachas Pater. If he writes a letter, he's Pater. Higia Isachas Chayev. He does Hagah. Hagah is amending or correcting. He's going to be Chayev. It's very surprising. Amar Rav Sheish Zach Me'askin Kein Shnat L'Gaga Shel Ches Vasser Shnei Zayne. He took the top off the Ches. This makes it really look that the Ches is supposed to be written in the Ashkenazic way. That there's a hump in between the two Zions. And if you take that off, that little hump, you separate the two Zions and you're left, you take the hump off the Ches, you're left with two Zions. He says, Fardim, just write the line. Like our printed Ches. So, okay, because now he created two letters by taking that thing off. Also, this is a raya against, I don't know, I don't remember, but one opinion holds that it's a Vav and a Zion, not two Zions. Do you remember that?
Well, that's the Arizal.
The Arizal says it's a Vav and a Zion? Yeah, so how does the Arizal explain this Gemara? It's interesting, no? Okay. Rava Amar, Rava says, this Gemara isn't explained well because you need to write two letters still. He takes the end off the Daled, turns the Daled into a Resh. But it's still only one letter.
Because it's not the tag, it's the Akev. If anything, it's the...
Yeah, but I think the Gemara can call the tag, the Akev, the tag.
Yeah.
So Rashi explains what we're dealing with.
Is there a place that in the Chumash that needs two Zions?
Oh.
Because Rashi says Sefer l'chach tzarich. I'm just curious. I don't know.
That's a very interesting question. Could have been. Let's extend this. That it could be to anywhere in Tanakh, because they used to write the Tanakh as a sefer. And we can go a drop further. We could also say that Lav Dafka was one of the Sifrei Kodesh. He was writing a different book. And that's what it needed.
But I think the chiddush of the one letter is that he's Megia and making the book kosher.
Right. But it could be that the same thing would apply if he's actually finishing the book with that letter, even if it wasn't a kosher. I don't know. It definitely applies to the case that we're discussing, which was the Sefer Torah and all of this. Question is if it applies to more than that.
Is mezuzahs with a vav or without a vav?
I think there's two mezuzahs. What? Yeah. Oh, that very good. Very good. One of the mezuzahs doesn't have any vav, right? One has one and one has none. I think that's how it goes.
Okay.
Yeah. So there you go. You got it. Very nice. Okay, Rav Rava's pshat, what's going to come out with Rava when you take off the tag of the Dalet, you turn it into Resh. The pshat would be that you're actually completing the Sefer Torah with this, because it was supposed to be a Resh, and you fixed it up. So that's why it's going to be kosher, even though it's only one letter. If he intended to write one letter, well, it'd be adishtayim, but he ended writing two letters. Rashi says he intended to write a ches, but he ended up writing two zayons. So it says that he's chayev. Vatanan pater, but it said somewhere else that he's pater in our Mishnah. I don't know if it's our Mishnah or not. It says Vatanan. Like kasha. Hadbay is yune, hadlay is yune. This is a very difficult Gemara. What the Gemara seems to be saying is that it depends if he intended to still put the tagin on the letters. If he intended to put the tagin on the letters, the crowns on the letters, then he's exempt. Because he's not finished what he wanted to do. And here, when he's pater, is when he didn't intend to put the boy, he doesn't want to put on the tagin. It's very difficult Gemara because the tagin aren't ma'akev, the kashas of the letter. So there's different ways of explaining this, but it seemed very complex. Okay, kosav isachas netrikan, if you write one letter, with an apostrophe, like shorthand. So Rabbi Yeshua ben Beseir Mechayev Achampet. Rabbi Yeshua ben Beseir says Chayev. Chum say you're exempt. You didn't write the two letters. I'm Rabbi Yechanan Mishum Rabbi Yossi ben Zimra. Rabbi Yechanan says in the name of Rabbi Yossi ben Zimra. Soon he's going to say on his own, but first he starts off with Rabbi Yossi ben Zimra. Minayin lashon netrikim min haTorah. 1 second. Rabbi Yossi ben Zimra was one of the sages from Eretz Yisrael. That was Yossi ben Zvida. It was someone else. Okay. How do we know that there's condensed words, netrikon, in the Torah? Like Rashi Tevis. Shenemar ki av hamayin goyim nesaticha. And our Gemara's av hamayin is put into with like apostrophes. So it's a abbreviation. Av nesaticha, a father I have made you, talking about Abraham Avinu, l'umes, to the nations. V'achar nesaticha b'umes, chosen one I've given you, made you to the nations. Now let's translate the Hamayin. We just did the Aleph and the Beis of Av. Chaviv, you see we switch a Hey for a Ches. Chaviv nesaticha la'omes, beloved I made you to the nations. Melech nesaticha la'omes, the king. Use the Vav. Vasik nesaticha la'omes, that means distinguished I've made you to the nations. And Neman nesaticha la'omes, I made you trustworthy to the nations. Wow. That's the abbreviation here. Rabbi Yechanan Didei Rabbi Yechanan himself says, you're probably familiar with this one. He says, there's before he said the name of Rabbi Yossi ben Zimra. Now it's its own. It says, Anoichi is a nutrikan. Could have said Ani in the Aseret Dibris. Ani Hashem Alekecha Asher Tzisicha. It says, Anoichi Hashem Alekecha. It says, and Rabbi Yechanan says, Ano nafshi kasvis yavis. I myself wrote it. I think I said this trance is a little deeper than that. But the simple pshat in the Gemara is, I myself wrote it. Rashi says, Ani ba'atzmi, and I've given it to you. Yavis, Yahiv is to give. It's talking about the luchas. Rabbanan Amri, the Rabbanan say that Anoichi is also Rashi Tevis, but it's a little different. Amira Ne'ima, a sweet phrase. Ksiva, it's written, and Yehiva, and given. Ikadamri, there are those that say, Anoichi lemafreya, that you have to read it backwards and use it as an acronym. How do you do this? Yehiva, it was given. Ksiva was written. Ne'amanim imra, its words are trustworthy. What do you gain if you do it backwards? Masha says that when you do it backwards, then it's not referring to just the luchas, it's referring to the whole Torah, that everything that was given is trustworthy. Debei Rabbi Nassan Amri, in the yeshiva of Rabbi Nassan, they said, Ki yarat haderech lenegdi. It's talking about Bilam bangs into the wall because the angel was there, and he hits his donkey, and the angel says, all of a sudden the angel appears after he yells at his donkey and hits it. So the angel says, I'm stopping you because you're going against me. You're rushing against me. Lenegdi. Rashi has different interpretations of what yarat means. But here we say, yara rasa natsa. The reason why your donkey, the angel's talking, the reason why your donkey banged into the wall is because it saw, it was afraid, it saw, and it turned. Debei Rabbi Shmuel Tana, in Yeshiva of Rabbi Shmuel, they taught, all of this is just to show that there's abbreviations in the Torah. Carmel, it says that the grain that you take for the Omer is Carmel. Carmale. Car means the stalk, and male means that it's full. That means that it's ripe. Carmel means that it's ripe grain, because the stalk is full. Before David passed away, he instructs Shlomo to do with his wisdom to Shimi ben Gera and a few others. But when he's describing Shimi ben Gera, so he said that he cursed me when I was running away, and kolala nimretzes. I don't know what nimretzes means. Probably strong, a strong curse. So the Nutrikan of nimretzes gives us a little clue onto what he said. What was the curse? He said, Noyafu. He's an adulterer, talking about David. This is what Shimi was calling David. Mayavihu, he's a Moabite. Reitzeyachu, he's a murderer. Tzeirerhu, he's an oppressor. And Tayevu is disgusting. That was Shimi ben Gera screaming at David. What can we say? How can we be justified? So, what is nitzdadak, to be justified? That we're correct, tzadikim anachnu, that we're righteous, terim anachnu, we're pure, dakim anachnu, that we're humble, and kadeshim anachnu, that we're holy. Well, that's the abbreviation of this. Okay, so that would be a proof for Rabbi Yeshua ben Beseira, I guess. Now it says, a case of beis isis b'shtei halamis achas shachas v'achas ben arbaim. Someone writes 2 letters, once in the morning and once in the evening, but in between he remembered that it was Shabbos. The morning he woke up, he doesn't remember it's Shabbos, and he writes a letter, one ice. Then in the evening he again forgets that it's Shabbos and writes another one. So there's a machlekes here. Ram Gamliel Machayev. Gamliel says he's chayev, even though it's in 2 different forgettings, because he remembered in the middle that it's Shabbos. The Chachamim say is exempt. The Gemara says, "V'may kamiflagi." What's Rabbi Gamliel and Chacham arguing about? So we had this Gemara before, a few times quoted. Rabbi Gamliel savareni dialachatzi shir. Rabbi Gamliel says that. What did he realize? That he wrote that he did half a malacha? That's not considered a realization. So that's not considered an awareness. And when would there be an awareness that would divide up a malacha into 2 separate malachas? Awareness divides the malacha. That would only be if he actually did a full malacha. But over here he did a half a malacha. So that awareness doesn't count. So therefore, it didn't divide the forgetting, and he has one big forgetting. Now, the Rabbanan Savri Yeshi Dei Lachatzishir, the Rabbanan say no. It divided it up. It's not the same forgetting. And so therefore, he didn't do any malacha b'shoigig. He did half a malacha in one forgetting and half a malacha another one, but that doesn't connect because he had an awareness in the middle. Okay. Next parak is also very short. It's only 2 pages. If you make a siyam on a parak, this is a good one. Okay, Rabbi Eliezer says, someone weaves. So if you're setting up the loom, it won't stay in place. You could, when you do this with popsicle sticks in camp, they would make these rafts. You take popsicle sticks and make rafts, and then we would let it float in a negelwasser bowl. It would be an activity. So, when you put the first ones in, because what you want to do is you want to over and under. You put the first one in, it doesn't hold. It all falls out. And the second one, it's starting to hold it. By the third one, you're already getting it into place and it's holding. So Rabbi Eliezer says that when you're setting up the loom, so in order for it to hold, you have to do 3 stitches under over. That's going to hold. I assume it means back and forth. 1, then back, and then again. I assume. I don't think it means just 3 on the chassis, like under over. I don't think that. I think it's more than that. I'm not sure. However, once the loom is set up, then even 1 stitch holds. That was Rabbi Eliezer opinion before. Remember, we spoke about it when he finishes a book, or if he writes 1 letter next to other letters. Rabbi Eliezer says that even 1 letter counts. So too, Rabbi Eliezer holds 1. This is the source of it. That 1 stitch counts if the loom is already set up and you already started weaving. You started on Friday afternoon. You're continuing on Shabbos. So then you be chayiv just for 1. Yeah, they said, what's the difference between someone that keeps Shabbos and someone that doesn't? He said, shkia. Because he's weaving before Shabbos, right? He says, let me just get 1 more in. Just 1 more stitch. According to Rabbi Eliezer, it's chayiv. It's 1 stitch after shkia, because the other ones are there. Okay. Chachamim say it doesn't matter, beginning, and it's always shiurei beis chutin. It's always 2 stitches. This is Rabbi Eliezer opinion, that 1 stitch after it's already there counts. That's Rabbi Eliezer. Chachamim say it's 2, and it's always the same. So in a way, Rabbi Eliezer is a little lenient, because he says at the beginning you need 3. He's strict about everything else other than when you're setting it up. We'll see in the Gemara. It's not so clear if that's Rabbi Eliezer Shita. We'll see. Oisa shtei batinirin benirin. Makes 2 batinirin. So the way I always understood this was batinirim are heddles. And let's say my fingers are the warp, okay? So what I do, I have to get strings that go under and over, right? And then I have to do this one like that, right? So go under and then back the other way. So to take a needle and to go under and all of that would be very timely. But there is a simple solution, a mechanism, where if I lift up this string, it will pull up these 2 fingers. These 2 fingers can pull that up. Why? Because I attached a string to this finger and a string to this finger, and I put it on a rod. And when I pull up that rod, I lift up all the odd strings on the loom, and I do it the same thing with the even ones, and I lift up all the even ones. So then I don't have to go under, over. I could just lift it up and throw the thing through, and then there's someone else that lifts up the other one and throws the thing back. So I have to string it though. When I'm setting it up, I have to, those loops that grab onto the finger are called heddles. So I have to string it. So if you make those heddles, either it means that you actually make, it's a string that has a loop in the middle, and then it goes down to the bottom. Yeah, there's a loom there that on the loom you can see. I'm seeing really over there, I think I'm seeing Mesach. I'm seeing that the board is being pushed back. Mesach was to keep it all and push all the woof, all the Erev threads back. But there is, I think I'm seeing on Dr. Stein's loom, a heddle there. Now,
I found it on the heddle, so I don't know. I have no idea.
So there's different pshatim over here. What if it means making a heddle, or actually, or just putting the string through the heddle, and then setting it. Okay, but then I looked this morning in the Steinsalt's commentary, and he says that when you're setting up the loom, we're not talking about the heddles to lift it up. We're talking about that there's a rod at the beginning of the loom that you have to tie the threads to, the chassis threads, to set it up. It's a lot of work in the setup in weaving. So what you do is you take a little thread, you put it over the first rod, and then there's a little loop in that thread. Then when I take my chassis thread, I don't tie it over the rod. I tie it through that loop and bring it back. Very similar concept, but these are batei nirim. These are houses for threads. So it's either houses for threads in the shuttle, in the heddles, or houses for threads at the beginning of the loom. So the Gemara is going to explain what, if you do the shtei batei nirim benirim, or if you do it bekires. And then it goes on and says, benafa bekvar v'sal. Nafa kvar and sal don't really use heddles, but they also do weaving. So you're weaving. So I'm not sure what it means, batei nirim. Over there, Rashi says, Hanach lav nir in mamish. It just means that you're putting the chut echad shel erev b'shesi malmata v'echad malmayla. You're just setting it up. Okay. So that you're chayev for doing two batei nirim, or for setting up the weaving of the baskets. Hatay for base tefira is if someone sews 2 stitches, or someone that tears in order to sew 2 stitches. Why would he tear in order to sew? I was going to say that it wasn't straight. The garment had like a bump in it. So you cut it, and then you put it in with a little hem, and then the garment will be flat. So you're tearing it in order to re-sew it back, and it should look even. We'll see in the Gemara when we turn the page. Okay. Kiyos Rabbi Yitzchak. Rabbi Yitzchak came. He taught Tana Shtayim. That's referring to what Rabbi Elazar said. Rabbi Elazar said if you weave at the beginning 3, so then you're chayev. He said if you weave 2. Vanantanan Gimel. We taught that Rabbi Elazar holds you need to weave 3 at the beginning. 1 at the end, but 3 at the beginning. Gemara says like kasha. Habalime habektini. Depends if it's big or small, or alimi would be fat, and ktini is thin, small. So what type of thread we have? Now, we gave an answer, but the answer didn't tell me which one's which. I still have 2 options. I could say that the thick one requires 3, and I can say that the thick one is only 2. We'll see. We'll try it both ways. Amri lahagisa, some say it this way, some amri lahagisa, some say it that way. Okay. One way of doing it is amri lahagisa, to say it this way, on the second of the wide lines, alime tilasa. The thick threads, the strong threads, you need 3. Why? Because tilasa leisasri, 3 of them won't undo. Trei sasri. But 2 of them will undo. They're so thick that they won't hold in place. The warp won't hold it in place. You have to do 3 of them to be held in place. However, ktine treinamile sasri, but if they're very thin, then 2 will also stay in place. 2 stitches of this. Barmila hagisa. And some say the other way. Ktine, when it's small, plus a yediyah, so you can't see that what you did, and it's really not considered anything only if you did 3. But trei la yedi, but 2 is not enough. It's not considered anything. Alime, but if it's thick, then Treinami Yidi. So you have both ways of saying this. Two ways of answering this question. And we don't give we don't determine which one it is. Okay, Tanya. Starting in the Brayso, Gimel Chutim B'Tchila V'Echad Al Arg Chayev. Three threads at the beginning is Chayev, and one after, once it started, then you're Chayev. That's Rabbi Less's opinion. Whether at the beginning or at the end, it's always two. Ubesafa, but if you're doing a hem, then Beis Chutin Berechav Gimel Batinirin. Then 2 stitches, even if it's only 3 batei that you're doing. I guess if the warp is only set up that it's going to hold 3 threads. So this is quite a small loom. The loom is just 3 threads. I mean, the loom, it could be a large loom, but you're only using 3 threads of it. So, and you're going back and forth on the 3 threads. Even that, because you're making a hem, so even that would be chayiv. And then the Gemara says, Lamazah Daima, where is that? Halamazah Daima, what is it similar to? La'irik, tziltzil, katan, beis chutin, brechav gim batinim. It's like making a belt. If you make a thin belt, that's the way you'll do it. So this is okay. This is it's not okay. It's chayiv on Shabbos. It's already considered work. Ha'irig, gimel chutin betchila. It says v'ha'irig. Take it out. Someone that weaves 3 strands at the beginning of Echad Al Arg and one after it's already started, he's chayiv. Stomach Rabbi Lezer. Doesn't say a name in that brisa. It must be, it's anonymous, but it must be Rabbi Lezer's opinion. Tanya Idach. I have another brisa that says Ha'ireg Beis Chutin Alagas Vala Imra is chayiv. If there's already a bunch of threads there, that's the gas. Then, or on the Imra, if you're just starting it, Imra is like, I think when they would start it, they would use a different sort of material. And so if you're just doing that original weaving, you're chayiv if you do 2 threads, whether it's, in other words, whether it's the beginning, whether it's the end. Rabbi Lezer Imra Afilo Echad, even if it's 1. And one thread, one weave. Ubesafa, but at the edge, shnei chutin bereichav shleisha batinirim is chayiv. 2 strands with the width of 3 heddles or 3 warp threads. That's chayiv. Halamazadai melayrik tiltzel katan shnei chutin al reichav gimel batinirim. This is like weaving a belt. It's another brisa that's saying the same thing. Oh, that must be the Rabbanan. So we have one brisa where the stam is Rabbi Lezer. We have another brisa where the stam is the Rabbanan. Stam, the anonymous one, is the Rabbanan's opinion. It says it's always 2 threads. Rabbi Lezer says it's 3 or 1. In the Chamsi, it's always 2. Now the Gemara says, Vaisa beis batinirin binirin. So that's what the Mishnah said. So we say, my binirin. What does it mean, binirin? Rabbi Atarti. So, I don't know exactly how they would do this. We said the Batei Nirim are, possibly they go around, you see, I'm going to point to my computer, it's not going to help. You see on the left side of Dr. Stein's picture, the right side is already finished. That's already the thread that's already made. The left side is the thread that's set up, and you're going to be pulling it out as you're weaving it. And you're going to get more and more thread, you'll weave more. So the way it's attached to that bottom pole over there is with those loops that go over the pole, and then there's a loop right in front of it, and the thread would go through that loop and then come back. Now, what in Dr. Stein's picture, what you're seeing really clearly is the heddles. That's what you're seeing. You're seeing those frames that go up and down. That's what's clear in that picture. Whatever the case is, you could use the bate nirim. You go through the eye, let's call it an eye, of the heddle, or of the way it's set up, the two pshatim here. Or you can go on the thing itself, on the heddle itself. Somehow you wrap around the thing itself. So it says that Oisa Beis Bati Nirin Bin Nirin means that one of them also was attached to the nir itself, to the heddle itself. Or maybe as it was set up, that to the actual pole itself of the beginning of the weaving, of the loom. Now we say Bekiris, my Bekiris. Amarav Matsuvisa. This also is something to do with the heddles. Or maybe it is the heddles. Okay, now we say Vateifer based Tfiris. If someone that sews 2 stitches, the Gemara says, what are you saying over here? 2 stitches. This was Tanina Babas Malachas. We learned this in the Mishnah that told us the Malachas. You don't have to go over this again. So it says Vateifer based Tfiris. Someone sews 2 stitches as a malacha. Gemara explains, Mishum de Kabbalah Misnei Seifa, because we wanted to say something else. We wanted to say, just 1 second. Akirei almanas litmer based tfiris, someone that tears in order to sew 2 stitches. So therefore we said Kataninami atayfer vakireya. We said also that if he sews and he tears, we wanted to put them both in because we wanted to say the second one. Where it says Hanami Tanina, Bavis Malachas. It also says if someone tears in order to sew. That's also in the, why do you said this one in order to say that. You don't need that one either. Ella Mishum de Kabbalah Misnei Sefer. Rather, we need something else. At the end, we're going to see shortly, it says Hakireya B'chamasev al Mesei. If someone tears in anger, or he tears garments because a relative passed away. We have a mitzvah to tear. A relative, you tear the clothing in mourning. So that's why we started off saying, someone that sews 2 stitches, someone that tears in order to sew 2 stitches, and someone that tears for his mourning or his anger. The Gemara says, how does he tear in order to sew 2 stitches? It says, the Avda Kikista. It was made like a pocket. That means that you fold the pocket, you fold the stitches in, and then there was a lump in the garment, so you tear it and then you fold it underneath and you sew it over there on the bottom, so it makes it flat. Okay, the Mishnah says, someone tears in his anger, or he tears because someone passed away, or anyone that does anything destructive, he's pater, pturin. If someone ruins something in order to fix it, the measurement goes by the fixing. So we'll see what that is. Someone that bleaches cloth or the fibers. Menapitz is he combs it, and then he dyes it. And he spins it into threads. You have to do with those malachos. You have to do the amount that would be a thread from the thumb to the first finger and then back. So double a rechav hasit. Yeah. Hasit is from the thumb, the area from the thumb to there. Let's see how big it is. It's about the size of my pencil. Okay, double that. That's for this instance. Someone that weaves 2 threads, how much weaving should be? Just the rechav hasit itself, not a double one, just like that amount. Okay. What we're saying is, even if he doesn't go across the whole garment, but he does that amount, that is already chayav. Raminu, we have a contradiction. What are you telling me? Someone tears in his anger, or for someone that passed away, he's pater. We have a brisa that says he's chayev. The brisa goes on. It says afal pisha mechalas Shabbos yatzi de kriya. Even though he wasn't allowed to do that, but he was yatza kriya. He did the mitzvah of kriya on Shabbos. Big chiddush, no? That he's yatza even though he didn't have avera. It's a mitzvah above avera. It's a big chiddush. I had someone, a family, they moved into a house, like a Sephardic couple. They moved into a house, they moved in on Shavuos. They weren't so religious. But they put up mezuzahs right away. They said the segula, they had to put it up. They put it up on Shavuos. And this whole shaila, they have to take it down and put it back up again. The segula of having the mezuzah was more important than the prohibition. Someone said that they don't work on Chol Hamoed because it says Ein Araya Simin Bracha. On Chol Hamoed you do work if there's a loss. They say, but you don't see the blessing from that. You just take away loss. You're allowed to work. But they don't work on Chol Hamoed, but on Shabbos they work. Because on Shabbos it doesn't say Ein Araya Simin Bracha. It's just prohibited. Okay, so here he was Yaitza Kriya, but he violated Shabbos. So the Gemara says, okay, but that's not our problem. The Gemara's question is that the Mishnah says pater for tearing, and the Gemara quotes a brisa that says chayev. That's a contradiction. The Gemara says like kasha. I'll be maced today, I'll be maced to alma. He tore for a stranger. Tore for a stranger is just mekalkel. That's why he's pater. Tore for his own relative. So that's something that's he needed to do. That would be chayev. The Gemara says, 1 second. Look at the Mishnah. The Mishnah says, Va'al meisai. It's not a stranger. Va'al meis. It says, Va'al meisai. There's that possessive pronoun there. It's his relative that passed away. The Gemara says, Lo'ilam b'meis today. Okay. Talking about that it is his relative. However, B'hanach talav b'nei avelis. It's someone that he doesn't have to tear for. It's, his cousin's grandfather. It's someone that he was taken care of, but doesn't have to actually mourn over. The Gemara says, but if he's a scholar, a sage, I should say, then everyone has to tear. The Tanya was taught in a brisa, Chacham Shemeis Hakol Kroivav. A Chacham that dies, everyone is his relatives. Hakol Kroivav. So you could say this: if a wealthy man dies, everyone becomes his relative. Hakol Kroivav Salkadaitach. Everyone becomes his relative. Everyone is his relatives. Elaim Hakol Kikroivav. Everyone is like his relatives. Hakol Kairin Alav. Everyone has to tear their garment for him, their clothing. Hakol Choltzim Alav. They used to not just tear, but they used to also remove the collar and the shoulder. One shoulder would be exposed when they were mourning. Hakol Mavrin Alav Berachava, and everyone would eat the meal in the street. That first meal that they don't prepare themselves. Late shricha. The Gemara says the lav chacham. Obviously, over here in our Mishnah, we're talking about that he's not a chacham, and that's why he didn't really have to tear for him, and that's why he's pater. The Gemara says v'yadam kasher chiyuv v'mechayev. But even if he's just a regular, an upright person, he should have to tear. The Tanya says in the brayso, why do children die young? So that they should mourn over an adam kasher. The Gemara says, so that later on he should mourn. You take a collateral now. Like we don't even know what's going on over here. You're punishing someone? He didn't do anything wrong. It says, if a person doesn't cry over an adam kasher, so there's a punishment for that. Anyone that does cry for an adam kasher, so he gets forgiven because of the honor that he gave to the upright person that passed away, that he cried over him. So therefore, he's protected. His family, his children are protected. So it means you're supposed to tear the clothing. It says, must be that he wasn't a Adam Kasher, and that's why you didn't have to tear. Let me go a drop further. If he was there at the death, when the soul was leaving, he's chayiv. If someone is there in the room when someone is passing away, at that moment he has to tear, even if he's not a relative. So he has to tear. He should be chayiv on Shabbos. The same halacha as if a sefer Torah gets burnt. They have to tear the clothing. Gemara says, okay, over here we can leave it over here. We'll say that he wasn't there when the person passed away. Okay, have a good Shabbos, everyone.